Right. Okay, and we're live. That's cool. So thank you very everyone for joining us for the I don't know which one of the Prismic Meetup. I don't know. Noha normally is around to tell us which one. But anyway, thank you for joining. Today we have a pretty interesting program. Something I'm really interested in that is related to the brand, the visual brand, a lot of creative and interesting topics. And but first, I would like to see and talk to the people that are in the chat. Can you start maybe by let's warm up a little bit the chat. Where are you watching us from? From which country? From which city? Right. So here we are in Paris.
For those who don't know.
For those who don't know, we have guests from Portland, but I would like to see who else in the chat. Where are you watching us from? And the second question is, what's your role? What you're doing? Are you a marketer, a developer, a designer? That will be interesting to understand more, or what to focus on, right? If we have a lot of designers, we'll go maybe a little bit more on that, and so on. So
what's your role?
What's my role? I have every single role, or no role. You can say both. I'm the CEO of Prismic. I've been here for since the beginning, and I've done a lot of things. I started as an engineer. For those who don't know me, maybe someday they already do. I started as an engineer, and then I software architect, and then I went into business at some point, and now I'm the CEO. What's your role?
I had different roles too. So I started as a designer, and then go into more product management, and I'm now leading the product team at Prismic, and so that's my role alongside the other things that we do together into the actual at the company level. But yes, that's my role, and so I'm also very interested in the topic today. Like as a former designer, like I think discussing brand, discussing all those items are things that I've done a lot in my career. They were not the topic that I was the most at ease with, to be honest, and so I'm interested to have this discussion with our guest today.
The thing is, so there are two things that are interesting. So first, we have Javier from Mexico, designer, developer. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for responding. Everyone else, please tell us where you are from. We're so proud of the fact that we are international, and I'd like to see that people are joining us from all around, but also knowing about your roles will help us focus the content. So tell us where you are joining us from and what's your role. So about the brand question, there are two things that you talked that are very interesting to me. The first one is like, brand is this kind of very interesting, very creative, but in the same time very mystical topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, is it a thing, or are we just introducing brand just because it's creative, or because we like it? Is it that we like it, or is it that delivers value?
Yeah.
And that's the question. And how can we know that it delivers value? And also the methods. You told me that the method of finding the brand design. Sometimes it feels too, unclear or
yeah,
blurry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, how do you know that your brand is good or not? And how do you actually define like the criteria to judge on the work that you are like doing to define the brand for your company? That's very, very interesting. Even more so so my background is not, when I say design, is around product design, and so a lot of the tendency of product design came to like efficacy, being able to deliver on actual outcome, like being able to do usability and all those kind of things that are very, very rational, that shifted the conversation toward very rational item. And I know that for a lot of designer, like brand was like in a sense a bit more irrational toward like feelings and stuff like that. But it's cool because we had people that just try to also approach this in a rational way through the process and through the way you deliver value through it. And so that will be a very interesting talk.
It is, and let's see. And the other thing that I was thinking of is like, this is the moment where we refresh the whole visual brand of Prismic, and I was fresh into that kind of exercise, and now I would like to hear more and discuss about it. We have David, who is joining us from USA. He's a brand motion designer, or that's a brand motion designer. That's cool. I have Fred. He's living in the Netherlands. He's an owner of a developer company named Attic Lab. I don't know what. So you're the owner, okay? But what do you do at your company? Is it related to the brand, design, to building websites? Please tell us more. Hello, Samuel. You're not late to the party. We're just getting started. So, how you want to go next? You want to show a little bit the outline?
We can discuss quickly the outline. So basically, the program today is so welcome you. Done. At least I hope that we did it in the proper way. The main topic today and the next topic will be to discuss about a big rebranding project that we are going to discuss from the actual start and the beginning of the initiative to then like the actual release of a website that is like one of the deliverable or artifact that was produced because of this let's say groundwork that was done in the rebranding of company name Formation. We are going to discuss also a bit after the first release and after the first release of this artifact and this website, like how the team is basically measuring the impact. How is it that they are iterating?
Measuring the impact of visual branding. Okay, cool.
Branding generally, not only
branding,
visual,
okay,
like
yes,
branding.
Yes.
So that will be like the overall outline of this big chunk of the meetup. We'll go basically through a journey of start to finish and start to release, let's say, of first deliverable.
I thought we go through the whole of how it happened step by step. That's cool.
Exactly.
I like to relate to these.
And so we'll provide you some space to ask some questions. Maybe we'll do in this conversation some connection to the actual work that we've run into rebranding Prismic and releasing our
talk
own
a little
website.
bit about that. Yeah.
If we can, I think it might be interesting to just share our opinion. But like I would like that we just leave the specialists maybe discuss more.
Leave some space, of course, for
exactly.
them. Yeah.
And so the second thing is that we are going to discuss about product because we've done a new set of new features. We released a new set of features, and so we are going to go through those improvements, give you a hint and some vision on what are the next steps and where we are going actually with the product.
The typical section about the product.
Exactly.
And what are the updates.
Exactly, and I think that's how we'll close basically the meetup today. It will be already a dense conversation. So I think that's the main outline of the meetup. We usually have the website of the month, but not this month. We should maybe come back next month.
Because there are no websites of the month?
I think it's more that we already have a packed meetup and a lot of information to discuss. Right. So like we just chose to not discuss it this month. But yeah, that's I
regret it a little bit, but I understand. But there are so many wonderful websites that we did the last few months that we could present here, but I understand it's very packed and we should be
and we on top of it are going to talk about a nice website that was just released. So
true fact.
So and introduce also a bit in the process. So I talked about the actual section. We missed the guest. Okay, so maybe we'll have to change the program. Then we have a technical issue, and so maybe we'll have to start with.
No, I don't think so. They're going to come.
But anyway, to introduce a bit quickly what we are going to discuss today. So. The first thing is a rebranding project. It's the rebranding project of a company called Formation. And so they've basically decided a few months ago to invest in the overall rebranding for their company. And so what is interesting...
Do you know what Formations do?
Yes, they do some kind of tax, not really tax optimization, but they prevent you from basically have to pay more taxes than what you should do.
Yeah, like as a freelancer, I guess, or a small business.
Exactly.
They help you into understanding, because it's a hard one, when you're starting your business. And I know it for us now when we started. Like there are all kind of questions are thrown at you of taxing and stuff. You don't understand them, and they help you with that understanding and to understand what you have to pay on that.
Exactly. And so they went through the actual thinking process of thinking that they needed to rebrand and they needed to basically rework their whole brand identity. And instead of doing that in-house, they chose and they decided to basically work with an agency, a brand agency that is called Studio Mega. So those are the people that we are going to have on the meetup probably fast, but not right now.
Very quickly, they are already connected. They connected back.
So it's an agency. I'm going to do the introduction since they are not there. I'm going to just introduce them quickly and get back to sometime. Thanks to that, they are a creative agency that work on branding project and web projects. So they are based in Portland, in Oregon, in the US. And so what they do is 3 types of activities. So we talked about brand identity and brand design. That's basically one of their core activity. And in order to support that, they basically work on 2 other type of activity. One, content creation, because we are going to discuss it, but content is also at the root of a brand, and what they call experience design, what a lot of people call experience design, by the way. And it's basically how you are going to get your whole journey through and the different touch points that you have with the brand. So basically the mix and the interaction between content creation and experience design to basically design the brand and the identity. So it's a cool agency that work with very, very nice company like Nike.
Can you give us examples? Yeah,
Nike, Herman Miller, Timberland. If you go to their website, you should be able to basically see some of the projects that they've made. And so they've been in contact with a company called Formation. So I get back to this. That basically wanted to launch a rebranding. So that's the introduction. To actually Studio Mega and what they do, and so the whole goal of the meetup today is to go through the whole journey. So
I wonder in the people in the chat, how many people are going through a process of a brand refresh or rebrand in their companies, and what do you think of that process? Already tell us if you are in the middle of that. That's cool. If we are sharing the same kind of journey, that will be cool. You can ask us the current question that you're having. There's so many questions that when you are in the process, you start wondering, okay, how can I do this? How can I do that? So that will be great if you can tell us about this. And also, I saw that we have designers and developers in the chat, but do we have marketing people or strategy or content strategy or anything like that? That would be cool, so that we kind of also target the content, personalize the content for that as well. So how are we doing on the guests?
Can we start with Nathan only?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have Nathan around. That's good. So we at some point we lost the connection, and now we have Nathan back, and that's good. Nathan, let's introduce you into the chat, into the video.
Sounds great.
The live. Yeah.
Sounds great. I'm Nathan. I'm the technical director. Great to have. Great. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. So, I'm the technical director at Studio Mega and worked on the formations build. And our team is pretty small. So it's great to have tools like Prismic to be able to really help us build pretty robust sites with a pretty small dev team. So.
Nice. And what's your background? Like, you've been a developer. Where do you come from?
I've been a developer probably since the first .com boom back in the day. So I've been, my background is a mix between design and development, but really I've just focused on development for the last decade or more. So, but I've always really thrived at agencies that, really are design led and focus on UI and UX and, find value in those things. So that's, an important thing to me. And, it's been a great matchup. So.
Okay. So at some point you found that you had interest in UI, UX, and then you start focusing on that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So you work together with
Sean.
Sean, right? Who's going to connect soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so
Hopefully.
Sean is the partner and creative director at Studio Mega. Worked on the brand from the very beginning with the formations team, and so we like to think of brand and development projects somewhat separately, different work streams. More so to focus just on the brand and what the brand needs. And throughout that process, we are thinking about how it lives in the digital space, and where how is it going to be used? How does it live online? How does it look online? And kind of always adapting. I think even in this project, we went through all that process with the brand, tried to figure out where it lived digitally, and got into the site, and even did more refinements of the brand once we got it into the website. And I think that's the great thing about Studio Mega is we're working all in house together, adapting and being flexible with how things are. And I think in the end we come out with a really great brand. So
Nice.
That's good.
Beautiful. So should we start talking about the journey?
We can. Nathan, do you feel confident in like introducing a bit why did Formation basically decided to invest in the rebranding, and what was the actual main goal of Formation?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Formations is a pretty new company. They're based in Washington, and they started off just like most startups. They got together a brand, got together a website, and they realized, hey, we need to move to the next phase of our company. So they came to us to help elevate their brand and elevate their look and feel, not only digitally, but in other spaces as well. So I think for us, we look at all aspects of a brand, like all the touch points. I think where the brand lives, not just in the digital space, but in an environment or content as well. So I think I think for Formations coming to us, it was really interesting to us because we really enjoy working with startups like this, and really bringing them, bringing their brand to the new audience. And
I
it's
believe
been
it's like it's it's like you trying with startups. I feel there is this exercise of trying to understand with them what is it that they're providing as value, and trying to bring it into a story of like, okay, so it's like there is a puzzle that you need to kind of not the puzzle, but you need to discover what the score of the story is. Do you feel the same? Like I feel startups is interesting for that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It is always a puzzle. I mean, I think from a brand side and even a technical side,
Mm-hmm.
always a puzzle. So that's definitely true.
Oh,
Wow.
I see the face of Sean. So,
We got
oh,
Sean.
you're here. Okay, we got you
You
right.
know.
Sean
That's
can
great.
speak to it way better than me.
Oh,
You did a good job. You did a good job.
yeah.
Yeah, very good
Thanks for
job.
having me.
Hello, Sean. So we were just discussing
Hey.
basically the actual start and the motivation of Formation to basically start the process of a rebranding, and if there was like any goal or even any trigger that you are able to detect when a company needs to rebrand, or and what it was for Formation. Do you have any insight on that front?
Yeah. Thanks for having us, by the way. I'm glad we're working now. Yeah, I get to your question about like why someone would rebrand or evolve their brand. I think a lot of times we work with companies that have been in the market for a little while. You start with a certain understanding of who you are as an organization, and you learn as you evolve and as you grow. Maybe a little bit more about yourself. Maybe you're able to do a little bit more deep thinking around how your organization is going to grow or scale. And really, when we meet organizations, it's really important for us to understand their sort of core values, their purpose in the market and their ambitions for where they would like to go. And if the identity system that they've created, the brand that they've created, matches those ambitions, then we don't ask, then it's not necessary to evolve or rebrand. We really work with folks that you rebrand for kind of one of two reasons. One, you'd like to create a organization or a system that matches and reflects what you're about and can scale and grow with you over time, or you would like to signal some kind of change with your audience, that something new has happened here. Either we've gone from being a product to being a number of products or services, or we'd like to show that there's a new energy or a new ambition with the organization. So formations came to us because a little bit of both, and they really hadn't formulated sort of that core ambition and purpose in a way that extended beyond sort of their core ownership and leadership, and they wanted to do that as they grew. And they also felt like they needed an expression that really reflected who they were as an organization, their ambition, and stood out in the market amongst their competitors in a way that was really distinct and recognizable. And so that's why they came to us.
So does it happen that some people get to you because they want to brand refresh, and you tell them, we don't think this is the right exercise for you? Did it happen in the past?
I think it was just varying degrees. I mean, we obviously don't want to turn anybody away, but I think there's so many different aspects of a brand, and I think people think about brand identity, and obviously there's the big things like the logos and the colors and the type and that sort of thing. But really, there's so many different levers and mechanisms for engaging with your audience and scaling your message. And so whether or not we ask that, there are plenty of times where, we'll say, hey, it's not broken. You don't need to fix it. You actually need to add to it. And that's where we can create a more robust system that maybe is easier to hand off to a partner or scale, or maybe it allows you to function in new areas of the business that or the market that maybe you weren't before.
Okay. So here we're talking a lot about the, I guess we're talking brand, but we're talking about visual brand, or is it the brand as in the brand strategy, or is it both? What do we mean here exactly?
Yeah, you guys, I think you did a good job sort of setting it up. You'd mentioned, that brand is a mushy thing. I think what it meant maybe when I started my career and what it means now, I think are evolving things. I think, in the past, when we talked about brand, it was very much connected to this visual identity. So there's a system of parts that allow you to be, that represent sort of who you are and are distinct in the market. But I think we now kind of look at brand as operationalizing a certain emotional intelligence within the organization. I think and creating experiences that go far beyond visual. I think we oftentimes, when we're creating what we call a brand platform, which is kind of like the foundational map for an organization, it is the metrics by which we measure our success and how closely aligned to our ambitions our decisions are. And so oftentimes it's a bit of a roadmap, it's a bit of a guidebook, it can be a metric as well. And so those are things that I think when we talk about how mushy brand is and sometimes hard to quantify in terms of data, I think we see it as a framework that helps people inside and outside of the organization understand who they are, make decisions, and move together in more efficient and meaningful ways.
Absolutely. And we have more to that story moving forward. Just want to say hi to Stephen, Meltwater, and Haley. and Reese as well.
Mm.
Well, thank you for joining us, and please just remind us of what's your role in your team, what do you do, and where do you come from, so we can personalize also the content that we're creating here for you. If you're a designer, we're going to maybe dive a little bit more into design. If you're more a marketing person, well, we can also talk about that. So what's next? So
Yeah, so I was
you have the
interested.
plan.
No, no, so I was interested in one thing. So you said that some company come to you and basically they don't need to basically change everything because it's not broken. They just need to add on top.
Yeah.
Like, what was actually the status and the way you approached formation when they came to you? Like, what was your strategy, framework, and way to approach the actual rebranding for them?
Yeah, I think every organization's a little different, but I think we have a pretty systematic way of approaching companies where we spend the first part of the engagement really diving in with the individuals, the leadership, and understanding what they're, who they are, who they're speaking to, what their ambition is. And we use that as the foundation of like I said, this sort of brand platform that then we can hold up, agree upon, and then we hold up the existing brand and say, all right, how well does this current brand that you have match that ambition? And oftentimes it allows us to identify how and why it's off. I think visual brand can be very subjective, and so I think it's a way of getting all the leadership to make sure that they're heard, to make sure that they're engaged in the process of
wow, this is a tough
rebrand.
part. This is a very tough part.
Yeah.
Getting leadership involved in that process.
Sounds like you guys were going through a similar thing, so maybe I'm speaking to the choir here, but yeah, it's really important that everybody that's in the room, there's a lot of different folks with a lot of different expertise and a lot of different subjective opinions. And so how do we boil down our ambition to some very measurable and distinct, metrics that allow us to make decisions in the future? Because, for instance, if we're midway through the design process and we're pushing yellow as a distinct, color, and somebody is talking about how they've always hated yellow because their third grade teacher always wore it, or whatever it is. There's a lot of different reasons why we have emotional reactions to things, but what we do then is we say, okay, well, let's back out from our own subjective opinions here and take a look at, like, how does this represent what we said we stood for? How does this manifest itself in the market and compare to our competitors? How do we create distinction? And so those then become a bit less subjective and a little bit more measurable, that hopefully allow us to maybe come to some agreements when it comes to some of the more subjective stuff.
So it's something that really allowed me to progress about this, is to understand that my opinion does not matter as much as, that there are certain words or certain colors that mean something to me. But if that meaning is not shared with our target, it does not matter at all, because I might think that this is important, right? But what do the folks out there think? So it's not about good or bad. It's about, like, okay, who are the people that you want to attract and to talk to, and what this color or word mean to them, right? It's hard to get to that kind of understanding. It seems obvious now I'm saying it, and it seems obvious, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of, distance from the exercise to understand, like, this is what matters actually.
Well, I think that's frankly what these organizations are paying us for. It's not, it isn't rocket science, but there is a need sometimes for an outside intervention to come in and sort of set the rules and set the expectations and say, hey, do we all agree to these rules? And we're going to use this moving forward so that when we have those subjective disagreements, arguments, opinions down the line, that we have a way of solving them and moving forward. So oftentimes, the framework can be in the beginning. I think when you're selling this work in, it can become kind of it feels a bit existential, where you're just like, well, what's the point of something like this? But really what it is it's an attempt to make sure everybody's heard, get quick consensus, and move forward in a more economical way. And so
this is really good.
it's a very,
this is really good. So
yeah.
you're picturing your work as essentially this. Like this is an important part of your work.
Absolutely, and it's a thing, I think, a document that the leadership can come back to and use for internal discussion. It's something that they can hand to future employees and partners to make sure that they understand and are aligned in terms of their ambitions and sort of values. And it's a thing that becomes the seed of an external communication, marketing, and messaging in a way that hopefully attracts people that actually share those values and actually need those services and products.
And so this document that you are describing here is what you call a brand platform, right? Do you have any example or something that we could show to basically like guide our audience to what does it mean concretely in terms of content?
Yeah, I can. I actually have it on my screen if you guys want to check it out.
That's cool.
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to go through it kind of quick because I think there's, I think this is an internal document. This was something that was created before we created the brand identity.
And I don't want you to I don't mean to interrupt, but this is the right moment to tell the chat, like, if you find anything in this document that you don't understand or you're curious about, please throw a question in the chat and we'll try to address your and there is no stupid question, no bad question. Just tell us what you think about it. Maybe there's something unclear and we'll clarify it. Sorry for interrupting, but it was important to tell that.
Absolutely. Not a problem at all. I'm gonna kind of like skirt through this and sort of speak to the general foundation of this. But in the beginning, what we would do is we'll meet with leadership and we'll ask a lot of questions. And we do this because they understand their organization and their ambitions far better than we. And so this is our attempt to get smart on their challenge, but also make sure that everybody's feeling heard. And so we will conduct a number of interviews, and it really depends on the organization's ambition. Sometimes it's just a few folks, sometimes it's a much larger swath of both employees and sometimes consumers and customers. But then we'll come back and synthesize what we heard. And oftentimes those things are both, big challenges and big takeaways. And oftentimes you'll have two opposing issues happening at the same time. What you were as when you started a company may not be what you need to be when we're talking. So there are issues with scaling, or how do we take this thing that intrinsically a few people understand, at this leadership table, and scale it out to people that are just being hired today, or people that maybe aren't sitting at this table. And so oftentimes these challenges are both good and bad. There are things that, you're guided by purpose, but it's hard to define. And so we will sort of present this back to the organization, or to the leadership group, but then we will also work to show how do we turn those observations into action. And so those will boil down to larger directives that then become design principles, decision-making principles, that sort of thing. And so we will take a look at how other folks have done it in the market, whether they're competitors or contemporaries, people inside and outside of their industries, so that we can learn from them. We show examples, and this is, when we talk about quantitative analysis for brand, oftentimes it's, I think it's what is it? One of your countrymen, Michel Foucault, once said, I don't believe in truth, but I believe in the effects of truth. And I think brand is very similar, where it's a cocktail of operationalizing emotional intelligence. And so emotional intelligence requires many different aspects of you know, the brain, and it's a hard thing to quantify with one number, but we can see the effects of all of these decisions when we look at successful companies that have followed those rules and are winning in their market.
Oh, I
So
love it.
we'll-
I love it. I love it. This is good. This is good, and for a lot of reasons actually. So if you of our like the people in the chat say that they are developers, and you know I have a background as a developer, and you know there's a moment where you have this kind of okay when you get to start a startup in the beginning everything is like some kind of intuition, right? Because you learn from users, from the industry, and all of that, and you build up an idea of how the design should be and how, you know, the colors should be and all of that, right? But this is, as you say, it's an emotional intelligence that you build in your own head, and it's cool. It's good enough in the beginning. The problem is sometimes you're not the only one that are representing the company as a CEO or as whoever you know wherever you stand in that organization. There are several people actually. So how can you make this kind of process, which is more intuition for one person, into multi-actors, and you get it into, as you say, operational, right? Like how can I reason about it? And as a developer, I love turning something that is a bit blurry, a little bit like ununderstandable, to make it something like, okay, a system, right? We like systems. And okay, well, you know, guys, in this document, it seems that we care about is 1, 2, 3. It seems what people around us care about is this and that. And that's why next time we make decisions about design, about anything else, well, let's take that into consideration and check the boxes. Did we think of that? Did we think of that? I guess that's a very good way of turning something that is hard to reason about into something that we can reason a little bit about, or even more than that.
Yes, it's a mushy thing, and it's you know, I think particularly with people that have engineering brains, you know, we work with a lot of startups and folks that got to where they were by creating really tangible tools and being able to sort of measure the results, and sometimes there's a bit of skepticism when it comes to brand, because it can feel very wishy-washy. It can feel very you know, soft, and so I think we constantly try to turn some of these more emotionally driven tactics into things that can be broken down and really easily executed against. So we'll create design principles around you know, our values, and those design principles we'll draw a direct line when we're making design decisions about this is why we're choosing this, because it aligns to these design principles. And so theoretically, hopefully, when it's done well, we can draw a line between, you know, the decisions that we're making in a digital experience back to they all point back to this North Star that we're creating. This page here is just an example of kind of that a bit of a brand platform 101. There's a lot of different words for these types of things. People, you know, we talk mission, we talk purpose, and it really doesn't matter. It's the idea is like, what is it that drives you? What makes you? What drives your you know, values, and how does that interact or overlap with what the world actually needs or wants? And when those things are you know, it's where that overlap, that value is created, and so those are the things we're trying to measure.
Cool, that's really good. And well, I guess, well, we can talk about this forever, and I'm very interested because we've been into the exercise. I'm very passionate about this topic, but I want to get you know, slowly into that kind of the build part, because we have developers around, and I feel that that will be a good topic for them. But let me is it good for you that I say like the first part is turning that, well, making a system is building a system to make decisions about the design. Is it good? Making a system. I feel that system is a good way. Like have a kind of system to reason about the brand and the design.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. We definitely.
Okay. So.
And so foundation step, right? Like this is needed. You need to have this brand platform basically to be able to then move to the actual design and development and build phase of any of the campaigns, or media that or artifact that you want to produce. And so this was like foundational in the sense of building their website, right? It's needed. You need that, then you move to the website. You don't attack it into the website first and then you go back to the platform or whatever. Those are sequential items.
They are sequential, and between the platform and the website, I think is another. It's the brand. So meaning the visual identity, and it's like how do we create those tools and rules that allow us to craft all sorts of expressions, whether they be online or physical or marketing or product as well. Like how do we create sort of a scalable system that flexes and can live in a lot of different places?
And that's interesting. So, for example, for formation, for which the website seems to be like a very important channel, let's say, and a very important deliverable from the brand. Like when it when is the website coming into play? Like when is it starting to be considered in the brand application? Is it like first, second in consideration with the rest? How do you approach that?
Well, in this one, actually, this was kind of a sped up process that ended up playing out exactly like we thought it would at the end. But when they came to us, they had a really strong ambition to get the website up and moving. And so we sped up our platform and identity building process and really somewhat overlapped the steps where we were developing the identity at the same time that we were designing the website. And I think what we found was that there's actually, I think, some efficiencies that are created by staggering those things. I think we ended up taking just as much time as we would have had we made those really distinct steps in the process. So I think one of the things that we would usually advocate for is that those things happen in sort of sequence.
Okay. And so, what were the first phases? Like how much? Like maybe you've laid down this brand platform. You started to look at brand identity, and then you started to look at the actual website. How did it go? What was the actual process of building this website? Can you guide us through that?
Yeah, we definitely can. So, typically we'll take a brand platform, everything we've learned from our brand platform, the brand phase. As we've thought through everything, we've talked through everybody, we've gotten a lot of answers to a lot of questions that we've had. We'll start really just kind of laying out, pretty typical sitemap, content outline, just starting to think about information architecture. How is the story going to be told, and how does that translate into a website? And then taking into consideration what are the features, functionality, third-party integrations, any of those things that we need to bring into the website. So those are all considerations as we start mapping out how the website's going to come together, what those pages are, how does it really make sense for a user to come into the site and learn about something that, in this case is a little complicated. I mean, taxes in the United States are very complicated. So, but
well, let me tell you about France.
Yeah. So I think especially for solo business owners, it gets really tricky. And I think we did a lot of thinking of how to communicate, how to make that complex idea a little bit more simple and digestible and easy for people to be like, okay, I can easily, save however much money. And I think that's the important factor. I mean, really, that's like the number one thing we want people to learn when they're coming to the Formations website is, hey, I own my own business and I could save so much more money if I thought a little bit differently on how I pay taxes. So I think that was really the big message that we wanted to help convey to the user of the site.
And that's very interesting. So
very big challenge, take it something that looks very complex for people and say it can be simple. It can be simple, and how can you communicate through the identity is a big challenge.
And the thing that is interesting is, as you say, like you had some kind of approach that is, in the way you are at least describing it, an approach that is very user-centered, in the sense of like, you know what, we are not a product to make you manage taxes. We are a product that is related to what you actually want and need, that is like spending more and getting more money out of your business because you are going to get taxed, and that's the actual outcome or their job to be performed, in a sense, like actually, like, you know what, they want a simple message that is telling them you're going to get more money, and the simple message is basically reflecting the simplicity of the product. So like that's also interesting in the company.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have Haley on the chat that brought up a very interesting thing. I mean, it's very related to the kind of system idea, and she says executing the design is something we can do day to day, and day in, day out. But I find exploring a brand refresh in combination with an agile approach is unique, and I add to that, very challenging, especially bridging the gaps between engineering and marketing with actual educated guesses. All right, backed by data is a unique challenge. This is really insightful conversation. Thank you, Haley, for the comment. But it's that, right? How can we find the system? And here, you found out, okay, we need to make it look simple. Okay, you can be an entrepreneur or you can have your small business, and don't worry, taxes, we got you covered, and it's going to be simple for you, and you're going to save money.
Yeah, I think some of it is educated guesses for sure. There's plenty of times where we've got a hunch that something will work in the market, and sometimes it's actually very quantifiable, where we're how are we standing out in a market. Let's take a look at our competitors. Let's take a look at their messaging. I think similar to a website, a brand is constantly evolving. I've always thought that it was really interesting that we're willing to engage developers over long periods of time to maintain and evolve websites, but rarely do we do that with brands. And brands are as fluid and as living and as evolving as any website. And I think as brands live primarily digitally nowadays, it's going to become more prevalent and more necessary that companies have partners and practitioners that are constantly developing their brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I dragged the topic back to the brand because this is my curiosity about that topic. But I guess we got some interesting stuff about the stack and the build and a lot of concrete things that we can tell people about.
And now we can support, for example, the fact that this website will be moving alongside the brand, moving all the time. And so, I'm interested in how did you approach the stack selection? What were the criteria that you had in mind? And basically, like, how does it fit in the actual process of collaborating with marketing team and with the company to make the website evolve?
Yeah, the stack. I thought like there is one connection point that I didn't have, and maybe I blacked out. But okay, we said we want taxes to look simple. How did we solve that? I'm interested in this. So did we talk about what did we use for that in the design?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a couple points in the site where we try to communicate that. One of them being just like there's like a toggle right after the hero part of the website that really, like, I think hits it home of like, hey, if you're going to be a sole proprietor, this is how much you're going to pay in taxes. But if you form an S Corp and you work with formations to do that, they'll help you, reduce the amount of tax burden you have. And I think that's one of the bigger points. And, as I was saying, I think that was the bigger point that we're trying to bring home with the site of like communicating to people of like, it is actually really easy to become an S Corp and become an S Corp and save on your taxes and not have such a high tax burden.
So time for the sack, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you, definitely can talk about the stack. So, I think for us, we typically work with marketing and content teams, and I think because of that, not only marketing and content teams, but marketing content teams at companies that, like Formations, have a tech team. They're working on an app. They're working on a product, which is not uncommon for our clients. A lot of times, that team is somewhat separate from, say, the marketing and content team. And for us, we like to be able to set up tools and infrastructure for those teams specifically, all while working with those internal technology teams to make sure, like, hey, you guys, does this sound like a stack that works for you guys? Does this make sense? Any updates or changes to this? And typically, once we suggest, hey, we're gonna build this site with Next.js, which really gives great SEO, insanely fast page loads. We're going to put it on for sale. You don't have to worry about DevOps. I think that's the thing. Internal tech teams are like, oh, sweet, we don't have to worry about DevOps on this thing. Awesome. We are all for that. So this site was built with Next.js, is on for sale. And then I think Prismic was really, easy choice for us. We've worked with Prismic in the past on many sites. And I think the big thing, especially once, it moves from all of our development work and active development work into now this is the client, and the client is owning this and they're managing this. I think for us, Prismic being cloud hosted, it's, they don't have to worry about that technology infrastructure to make sure that everything's up and running. I think with those three tools, Next.js, Vercel, and Prismic, I think everything is pretty simple from a tech standpoint. Of course, we got them all set up. We write up documentation for them, get them all the information they need so they can take that and then, grow with it. And whether, I think most of the time we would love for them to come back to us and have us help them grow the website, grow the brand. But a lot of times these companies grow and they start bringing on internal teams, or they'll bring on an internal, content, development teams, et cetera. And they're then inheriting some of this stuff, and we want to make sure that they have all the information, set up for them, and they understand why we did something a certain way. So, but really, the stack for this is pretty simple, and that's for a reason. I think we set all this stuff up and get the clients, set up with these tools that can be kind of rock solid for them for years to come.
So if we talk about the requirements of choosing, so imagine like, okay, so first step, is the brand refresh the right moment or not? We talked about it, and then, okay, let's put a system that makes us understand what's important or not. In your case, well, we need to kind of communicate this kind of simplicity. And by the way, by going to the website, it didn't seem like, you chose big icons, clarity. There are big icons. There is, little, not a lot of content. It has a lot of space. It's very reassuring and simple. So I see that you have that kind of visual and, branding. And then there is a stack. I would like to understand, what are the requirements? You talked about some of them. You said, like, we want something SEO strong and performance.
Yep.
We want less ops. We don't want, the marketing team to work on ops and to ask the ops people to kind of do something about it. We need to kind of have them be productive without having to hire a team for that. That's a very good and important thing. Are there any other requirements that are important for you when you're deploying a new brand at a company?
Yeah, I mean, I think in any client we work with, SEO's top priority. I mean, I think that'll be on every client's list that comes to us. They want to have a site that has great SEO. And the second one will probably be fast. They don't want these sites to feel sluggish or slow.
Yeah, it kills the experience.
They want this stuff.
Kills
the experience for sure. So, and then along with that is something interesting and fun. I think there's moments in any site that we work on where we can kind of bring in some interaction, something a little bit more interesting and fun and unique. I think that's always what we strive for. And in this site in particular, I think my go-to for a lot of that stuff is using tools like Framer Motion, and being able to like
Cool.
bring that in,
That
and
little touch,
it's
right? Yeah.
yeah, that little touch. So, and we're not ones for overdoing things or making
No.
it
Yeah.
so your computer fans start spinning up when you go to the website,
Yeah, I know that.
but we definitely
Not a
like
good
to like
branding
add a
experience
little.
either. When you get the CPU of
Yeah,
you say like, oh, I don't want that. Doesn't sound
yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we like to keep things simple, but have a little touch of something. And I think
Yeah.
those things are pretty high on anybody's list. Anybody that's working at a product company, a marketing team, a content team, obviously wants people to be able to find their website and find it quick. So,
Cool. So there are another. So when we were like, in our experience, and I told you that we've been doing the same kind of exercise at the same time.
mhm.
And one thing is like when I hear deploying a new brand, okay, and this is from the experience of us redoing our brand, but also working with companies that are doing that. I feel in deploying the brand, there is the first version, and there is what happens after. And you said that there will be other people that they're going to hire for writing more content, more pages, updating the content, and all of that. And I feel that there is one thing that you talked about. You said like that's why we document things for them so that they understand how to use these tools to continue deploying the brand. Because not one
Yep.
iteration, you need to keep doing that. Because a lot of people feel that the website is like the first version and that's it, and we move to something else. And you said like they don't hire developers to continue maintaining the brand and bring in more pages. And for me, that's in under deploying the brand. There is okay, we know what is it with the visual identity, and now we need to deploy it with the different tools. So for me, one of them is documentation, making sure that the client, your client, is going to be able to understand how themselves can create more pages and deploy the brand. And I feel to myself and that you need also a tool like, for instance, in our case, well, we're using our own product, but some kind of tool that allows you to deploy that brand without breaking it. And I feel this is an important thing. Some kind of design system, some kind of thing that allows you to kind of create more pages but be brand safe. We talk a lot about this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and that's all part of our brand platform that we share with the
Okay.
client, and that grows over time. I think there's two parts of it of yeah, like what we provide guidelines on how to speak to your brand, what's the story, what's those headlines, what's the imagery that's on the website, how do you produce great imagery? Because in a lot of cases, as I said, they have internal content and marketing teams. They're producing this content over time. We're not always there to be able to say like, hey, you should tweak this image, or it'd be better if you phrase this way. So, we always provide guidelines on that, and that's part of our brand platform. And then the other side of that is our technical documentation, which gets a little deep, but kind of going over all the parts and pieces of the website, the tech stack, all of our slices we've used in the site, like what they all do,
Oh, the
what's part of
slices.
that.
So you document the
Yeah.
slices.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
We document all the slices. So, but I think so that allows the client to go in and be, if somebody totally fresh, new to the company could go into that document. Our hope is that they could go into that document and understand what each slice does and why it's there. And I think that's really important. I think even the little things, just while you're in Prismic building a document and having just like screenshots of those things help a lot too, because I think everybody's visual. So and for our documentation is probably a little dense when it comes to that stuff, just to make sure that we can get all the information in there, because there's a lot of information, and we want to make sure, again, when they bring on a new person to the team, that they can understand why things were done a certain way.
So this is so important because, like, for instance, you brought two things that I would like to comment on, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that you tell, like, okay, they need to bring more images in new pages on the same pages. Like, for instance, some brands are very filter heavy on the images, but the problem is that the question we have to ask: will they be able to produce these
Mm-hmm.
images independently, or they are very illustration oriented? But okay, that's cool. That's very beautiful illustrations, and but
Mm-hmm.
then can they produce more of that? If they cannot, then that's it. They're present in whatever we produce them, and they're not going to be able to move forward. Whereas if we give them some idea of how you produce images so they are coherent with the system, that's great. And that's a little touch that you guys are putting into documenting these so that they can be more independent after they work with you, right? And the other thing you talked about the slices, and I would like to quickly introduce it for people if they don't know what it is. It's basically is these kind of horizontal sections in the website. So you give people these kind of sections so that they can mix and match them to create new pages. But also documenting these so that they know, okay, now I need to create a page, but I can create it easily because I have these sections and they are brand coherent, and I'm not going to break the website or to make something that is ugly or not brand safe, because I use this kind of design system of big sections that I can just mix and match, hero, and then I don't know, client testimonial or then something else, and I can do that, but still be on the brand, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. And, I think for formations, they're building, a lot of different landing pages for different needs as they're talking to new customers. A lot of times they'll build out a landing page specific to a customer or a client they're talking to. And so that's a lot of the content that they're producing. And for us to be able to give them the guidelines to do that and have it look good over time, I think is really important.
So not only you bring your client a framework for thinking about the brand and making decisions on the brand, the system, right? But also you give them the tools to be able to produce more pages and keep deploying the brand, and that's cool. So you don't come for one shot and here's the website, goodbye, but you give them actually tools to keep exploring and deploying that kind of the website.
Yeah, exactly.
The brand basically through the website. Yeah.
Personalizing the application of the brand on the website.
Yes, I like this.
We go back to what Sean said at the beginning, like being able to operationalize the process and the actual brand at the end.
Cool. Yes, absolutely. So there's a question, Martin. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yes.
Oh no, I was just, it really is a mix of tools and rules. So if we're making sure that we're setting sort of a foundation of art direction and decision making, like a process of decision making, and then also providing the elements and sort of tactics to deploy it. Sometimes that these are documents and they're easily scaled in that way, but oftentimes as well we'll workshop with internal teams to maybe take as they're creating something internally, we'll work with them to problem solve. How would we use these rules? And sometimes we need to evolve the system as well, like create new rules or new elements for them as well.
So I have a question for Martin, if I may. Did you have total freedom to choose the tech stack? No guidelines from from the client?
I think we had some slight guidelines, but I think we pretty much had freedom to suggest the tech stack, and basically how we felt they could really something that they could grow with. I think that was the big important thing. I mean, as I said, a lot of our clients are marketing teams, and they're not the tech team. The tech team is probably focused on their product and not as focused on the marketing side of things. And for us to be able to build something that can live for years to come and it's simple, I think that's the important part.
Cool.
I had a general question on how did it go at the end? Like, so you've built this awesome website and what are the actual outcomes that you got? Like, what happened after the first release and how did it go?
So, this site did just launch, so we haven't gotten a ton of stats or data on that yet, but I know, the teams that we've been working with have really enjoyed working with it, has made it a lot easier for them to build and produce new landing pages and content for themselves, and be able to speak to their, brand and audience in a lot clearer way.
That's awesome. So basically, you already see some result on the team side of them being able to, what's the term that you use? Propagate the brand, or at least deploy it. Thanks to landing pages and independently. And so, you talked about this being versatile, continuously moving and all. How are you basically planning to watch the actual perception and evolution of the brand? Like, what are the signals that you are looking at in order for you to then act and continue partnering with Formation on the evolution of their brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always keep an open communication line with any of our clients. We're not like here you go, see you guys later type of thing. We always want to keep working with our clients, and we really appreciate those ongoing connections with clients, and it's really important to us. So I think, as with anything, I think it'll evolve over time, and I think there's things that you talk about throughout a process of building a site that maybe didn't make it into this initial build for various reasons, and different ways that they would like to grow, and and that those things obviously change over time. But I think you don't have a system that's flexible enough to be able to build on top of and refine over time is really important.
Yeah, it's kind of like talking about like, where will your relationship go? Where will your friendships go? It's sort of like, well, we hope that they keep going. I think with most of the folks that we work with, they are ongoing relationships, and I think the goal is to have a good experience where it's built on trust and value, and if we've proven that we actually are easy to work with and have their best interests at heart, and understand their brand, then hopefully they come back to us, and we partner to evolve where it goes next.
Sounds good. Looks
good.
Sounds good and looks good.
Cool. So I guess we're all, we're already
over time.
Yeah, I mean, we spent already 1 hour 15 minutes into this, and I guess you have other things that you want to talk about, I guess, probably, or no. But that was, I told you, this is a subject I really like. I could explore it forever.
Yeah.
But do you have any last comment, last thing that you can give us before we move to the other section?
Boy, I don't know if I don't know that there's anything else that popped up while we were talking, but I think you guys did a good job sort of covering the spread.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us and sharing all of that. Well, some people, feel a bit scared about sharing and all of that, but that sharing is also making a lot of people aware of the importance, and that there is a framework out there to reason about these kind of things. And and if they want help, well, they can hire you. And I hope we'll drop again the name of the agency there, and you guys. We did a good job together, and there are other agencies out there. But it's a good thing, to reason. If you feel that the brand, if you feel that there is a misalignment between the current brand and what you want to achieve,
exactly.
Maybe you need to ask yourself the question: if it is the case, well, there are people that can help you, or you can go and read for yourself and also understand whether it's the case or not.
And so, if we can add on the chat, Studio Omega, if you're in the process of looking for an agency and a company that can be with you and partner with you in this process of rebranding, and also then building your brand platform, but your website. So the link is now shared on the chat. So if you're in that process, then don't hesitate to reach out. I imagine that they'll be very happy to discuss with you. They showed you like their knowledge, skills, and relevance here, so to do that. So please don't hesitate.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for answering all the questions.
For sure. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Great.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
See you next time.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Now.
So I there is Haley who said, slide documentation is so helpful, and I think we should do a better job. I mean, we already started the process. We talked here about adding screenshots for slices and all of that, but it seems like it's a place where it enables other people to
a lot
to create more pages, right?
So we are seeing more and more, because here sharing some of the internal of Prismic and what we are doing at the moment. So the team are growing, and we are spending more and more time to discuss with the actual users, like to try to understand the pains and what they can face. One of the issue that a lot of people are reporting to us is actually the this handover process, and actually how they can use the system, what are the edge cases where it works, don't work, etc. Some of the configuration that might not suit perfectly their use case and way of doing things. And so at the end there is this whole question about how do you create a good handover, but also close the gap and close the loop of the feedback loop of like marketing team to developer to be able to provide like a better experience. So here, like in the soon future, like we are going to work on this kind of opportunity. We are already like, so screenshot is one step on that direction. We are already working in a whole set of new features and exciting.
And by the way, if you guys didn't use the what we call it, the simulator, and you don't build screenshots, this is the time that you should do it in Slice Machine because it helps with the handover, right?
Exactly. And so we are going to go even one step further in that direction, like in the next months, most likely. This is something that we have that is really at the core of the work that we are doing, because basically we know that even though those two teams are used to and wants to collaborate, and that engineers, developers, agency wants to provide a very good experience for our marketing team, it happens that sometimes some trade-off or some not clear knowledge about the application of the actual website create some friction points during the marketing marketing team experience. So it's everything like all these problems is at the core and the center of basically the problem that we are trying to solve at Prismic, resolving this tension and trying to facilitate, provide best practices for developer to then facilitate the handoff and create a good experience. Slice is one, screenshot of slices is a layer on top. We are going to add a lot of layers on top so that we can streamline this process, facilitate it, and provide the best experience possible for, let's say, the two main targets that we have in a sense.
Well, maybe 2-3 agencies, but this is very interesting as a topic, and a very interesting part of it is the user experience and developer experience. Anyway,
and so
what do we have today?
I'm going to use that as for me as a hook. Like,
go
if
ahead.
you want to participate to this kind of research, if you want to provide this feedback, if you want to test some of the concepts that we are developing in advance, you just don't hesitate to report that to the actual support, or when we send you some inquiries, survey, please help us in providing like the best tool for you so that we can basically continue to improve the product.
So I want to say that there is so much participation from our community, from our visitors on the website, and from our current users. And there is a huge effect out of that because we're making a product that is relevant and useful for you guys. But thank you already, because it has changed a lot in the last 2 years. There's a lot of participation, but guess what? We need more. We need more because there is much going on in behind the scene. And you get to understand what's happening in Prismic and what's coming next and what we're thinking about, and you get to participate to that. So if ever you get an email from Dragana or from the team of someone telling you, hey, we need your opinion, this is a survey, we need you for an interview for a research, well, how you're helping us, and by the end we are going to help you as well by deploying things that are relevant to you.
And so the work that you don't see under the hood is also that we are growing more and more our capacity and our capability to basically be able to iterate faster and deliver more of these new features. So that was like the huge work, like our team did a huge work on that front like last year and still continue to do it. So
but now we feel the bigger bandwidth, right?
Exactly. We start to like really. So Slice Machine is, for example, the product on which is surfacing the most. Like a lot of iterations that are coming, and it's now going to start to propagate to other part of the product.
I was wondering, are you going to say which part of the product? But you know.
So like you should see a lot of improvements on all the product like during this year. Like this is great. That's like I'm very happy about it. That was very, very hard work to structure all that and to grow the teams.
To be patient, right?
Exactly. And so a new feature and a new release that we think is important, and that basically also bring us closer to have I would say a fully functional and working product in Slice Machine. That is the latest release that we released last week on Thursday. the 0.7.0 that you can update. You can update for, if you don't know, very easily. You just npm install the latest version of Slice Machine, and you'll have all those features available. So with this feature, we try to solve, and we solved the actually the most requested feature for Slice Machine. That can sound simple, basic. That is the deletion of slices and custom type. And I know it was waited for by a lot of people, but we wanted to do it right. And so for that, we had to decide and take decision in a lot of trade-off, like should we optimize for productivity, should we optimize for security, and so we did a lot of research, design, iteration in order to be able to do that. But it's now available, so if now we can share my screen. If you update to the 0.7.0, you should be able to see now in the interface 2 new buttons. If you go to the slices, and I have this, so again, nice screenshot so that I can present to my team.
I love your slices. They're so colorful and beautiful.
They are they are copied from an actual website that is called Gumroad. It's an excellent website. I suggest that you have a look at the design. So nice screenshot that my marketing can rely on to understand what they are going to do when adding these slices. And I have now a new slice that is this test slice. I've been iterating on it. It's not really suitable, and I prefer to basically delete it. Even though this slice is being referenced in a custom type, I will be able to delete it, and the actual reference in the custom type will be deleted alongside also all the components and the model that is in my code. And so by doing that, I'm going to be able to delete. So again, the code component, the size component, the model, but also all the references that is happening in the custom type. That's why in the changes section, you can see now that I have 2 things that are impacted. First, the test slices that is being deleted, and the test page that is being modified because it's not referencing anymore the test slices. So I'm going to push those changes all together.
Cool.
But
so the process is I make changes locally and then I push all together.
Exactly.
Okay.
But let's try to go and to apply, for example, to show you the full process of also deleting an actual test custom type. That is my test page here. I'm going to delete that. And so the same, it's going to touch my file system, remove all the models, and do that.
Reminder, like all the definition of custom types is
local.
In the code.
Exactly.
Is local. That's the first thing we say. Code is the source of truth.
Exactly. And so the thing is that it's going to delete that locally, not distantly. First, I can do my manipulation. So if I want to roll back at any point, like I want to go back to a previous commit, I should be able. I should be basically, if I want to go back and get back this document, I can just roll back to a previous commit. I will get my slice as it was before, and I will get my custom type as it was before, because again, all this is stored locally, so you can basically go back to it. And it's not changed in Prismic for now. I have this screen that we call changes, where basically I will be able to push those changes. So in the actual trade-off, productivity versus security, we saw
safety is what
safety. Yes, safety. We saw a lot in research that most of the time, for a huge majority of people and a huge majority of the use case was I want to delete when I'm testing phase. So I want this to be as productive as possible, more than I want to be extremely safe. And so we
not lose content. Basically.
Exactly.
The safety part is like I don't want to lose content in production.
So we optimized as much as possible this process so that you can perform actually all the process of deleting a custom type in Slice Machine. You don't have to go to the editor, delete your document first, then delete the custom, go back to Slice Machine, delete the custom type. So that's one very interesting improvement that we have here, is that when you push the changes, I have for this test page an actual 2 actual documents for this custom type, and so the interface will basically warn me that I have documents that I can delete here. I can that we are going to delete alongside the custom type. So a quick link to be able to browse and understand what I'm going to delete if I want some safety. So my test page 1, and just a quick confirmation that when pushing those changes, we'll delete the custom type, delete the document alongside it, and do this process very fast. Quick, productively. And so I'm all set up. My test slice, my test custom type are not there anymore. The documents in my writing room, in my editor, are not there anymore. And I can now, basically, thanks to the latest version, be able to delete all this work, this test work that you are doing at the beginning of a project or alongside in a new branch, for example, to test a different way of building your slice. it's available again. The changelog is available on GitHub, but also in Slice Machine. You can see everything that changes here. The only thing that you have to do if you want to benefit from this feature is to npm install the latest version of Slice Machine, and you'll get this feature available in Slice Machine starting now.
Cool. That's really good. So basically, developers, we need productivity. We need to be able to change things around and delete and then keep moving, keep iterating. And that's why we thought like, okay, it's not an editor centric thing because we're talking about custom types. And that's why more code oriented and iterations are more important. And that's why we chose this. But it's not in our brain that we chose this. We asked users, we made surveys, and then we understood from that. So I hope that decision is aligned with how you guys want to work.
So again, what I said is what is interesting in here is that Slice Machine is starting, and you can see it like, and we get the feedback from our user more and more. We see that it's evolving, and so it's going to continue to evolve in the next months. We are working on a very anticipated feature, like being able to support properly Next 13, Next 3, and
nice.
And we want to do it. We want to do a bit more than that. We want actually to be able to create a deeper integration with it, because we know that Next 13 is coming with a different set of challenges. For example, the support of the app folder, and how will this integrate?
Well, opportunities, right? That people could use, right?
And so those are. This is at the moment the main priority of the team, to be able to support those items. So we should be able to discuss it, or at least provide some kind of ATA for this subject at the next meetup. But that's the main focus of the team. But we are also working in the actual productivity and again, giving more, giving in a sense like providing vitamin through the Slice Machine in your process by making you more productive in the way you are going to create slices, custom types, pages, templates, how we can streamline the process of performing your query. And so all this will rely on a deeper integration with Next 13 and Next 3. That's why we prioritize that. If you want to know what we are doing, by the way, and what are our priorities at the moment in the team, we communicate on a public page that is prismic.io/progress, where you can see the next, basically what we are working on at the moment and what are the next release to be anticipated. You can also flag yourself if you want to be part of the beta, or be notified when these items are being released. And so, you should hear from us like in the next months about new enhancement and new improvement and new features. But more than that, like in the next year to come, so in 2023, because it's the first meetup that I do this year, so I wanted to say it, way more progress in all aspects of the product. And
so not only Slice Machine, basically
exactly.
saying we have other teams that we're spawning.
Exactly.
Cool.
And so you should see like a lot of progress on that front.
Renaud, thank you very much for all of this. And since we have this bigger bandwidth, there will be more and more news about the updates on the products in the coming months. So it will be great to see you back on the Prismic Meetup to talk about other things that we're going to release. And please hear, there's something that all people on YouTube say, but I have to say anyway. Don't hesitate to like the meetup if you find that it's interesting, because it will get more people to watch it. We'll get more connected with our users, and then which means that we can talk to them, understand more about their needs, and make the best and most productive product for you. Right? Thank you very much for being here and for your questions, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.